Welcome, you're watching the Newstrack. I'm Rahul. Kanwal. On the show this evening, we'll get you the inside track on the big Modi government cabinet meeting that is on at this moment, where we are being told that key bills are being discussed. An important meeting taking place in New Delhi of the Modi government's cabinet. We'll try and get you the inside track. The government keeping matters very hush-hush. There was a big speech from the Prime Minister as the special session to mark the move into the new Parliament building began. We'll get you all the details. The PM spoke of this being monumental, historic. So what's cooking? We'll try and tell you on the Newstrack tonight.
Special Sansad session kicks off.
खट्टे मीठे अनुभव भी रहे हैं, नोकझोंक भी रही है.
Prime Minister hints at historic decisions.
समय के हिसाब से ये बहुत बड़ा है. ऐतिहासिक निर्णयों का एक सत्र है.
Big Bang announcement afoot.
75 साल की यात्रा हम नए मुकाम से आरंभ हो रही.
Routine reforms और बड़ा धमाका.
ये सदन छोड़ना भावुकपन है, मैं पक्का मानता.
What's up Modi government sleep?
माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के विजन की सराहना करता हूं.
The full inside track right here. Top focus on Newstrack.
We have the full plan for tomorrow as the MP shift from the old Parliament building to the new. But the biggest question swirling in the capital and across the country, kya dhamaka hone wala hai? What is it that the cabinet meeting is discussing? Will there indeed be a mountain or will there just be a molehill? So all of that and more. We've got our reporters on the ground. We'll get you the inside story that they've been able to pick up from their sources. Let's get started. Here are the headlines I'm tracking tonight. Crucial cabinet meeting underway. Call to be taken on bills that will be introduced in the special session of Parliament. PM Modi says historic decisions will be taken. PM Modi's big message to the opposition netas as the special session kicks off. PM says time to stop Rona Dhona and get back to work. Trouble in the BJP, AIADMK alliance in Tamil Nadu. AIADMK leader Jai Kumar declares there is no tie-up with the Saffron party, blames BJP Tamil Nadu chief Annamalai for the discord. Tamil Nadu Governor Ravi hits out at the DMK, says jihadis want to eradicate Sanatan Dharma. Yog Guru Ramdev says abusing Hinduism will fail in 2024. BJP accuses Congress of plagiarizing former Pakistan PM Imran Khan's theme song as their poll tune says Congress wants to convert Madhya Pradesh into Pakistan. A special session of Parliament is currently on. Tomorrow, MPs will shift to the new Sansad building. There is big suspense over what legislations the Modi government intends to bring in. The centre has shared a list of 8 tentative bills, but they seem rather routine. The question is, what is the surprise the Prime Minister and his government have up their sleeves?
An emotive farewell to an era. A day before the dawn that heralds a grand shift to a gleaming new home for democracy.
हम सब इस ऐतिहासिक भवन से विदा ले रहे हैं. आजादी के पहले ये सदन इंपीरियल लेजिस्लेटिव काउंसिल का स्थान हुआ करता था. आजादी के बाद ये संसद भवन के रूप में उसको पहचान मिली.
The 5-day special session of Parliament set to be moved to the new house on Tuesday on the occasion of Ganesh Chaturthi.
ये सदन से विदाई लेना एक बहुत ही भावुक पल है। खट्टे मीठे अनुभव भी रहे हैं, नोकझोंक भी रही है, कभी संघर्ष का माहौल भी रहा है और कभी इसी सदन में उत्सव और उमंग का माहौल भी रहा है। ये सारी स्मृतियां हमारे साथ, हम सबकी साझी स्मृतियां हैं। उनके मुताबिक
The final moments in the old Parliament building a buzz with speculations though. The government has circulated the legislative agenda featuring at least 8 bills during this sitting. But the opposition MPs insist that the timing of the session has left room for potential surprises.
What is in the agenda of the government, we are still not aware of it. So we are still in dark because these sessions and the bills that have been listed don't correlate.
Meanwhile, calls also surfaced for the passage of the Women's Reservation Bill in this sitting.
I think it is at high time now that ये इनका पास बहुमत है और ऑर्डिनेंस पे ऑर्डिनेंस ये करते जा रहे थे, तो ये महिला रिजर्वेशन बिल, विमेन्स रिजर्वेशन बिल विद फुल मेजॉरिटी अभी तक क्यों नहीं हुआ, यही प्रश्न है।
MPs from the Bharat Rashtra Samiti held a symbolic protest to make the same demand. Congress owned up the women reservation bill as its own brainchild.
You didn't see our parliament CWC resolution. Actually, it is the brainchild of Indian National Congress and UPA. We given 50% of women reservation in local parliament, that is local bodies.
Outside the House, Prime Minister Modi announced the session would witness historic decisions.
ये सत्र छोटा है, लेकिन समय के हिसाब से ये बहुत बड़ा है। ऐतिहासिक निर्णयों का एक सत्र है। सत्र की एक विशेषता ये तो है कि अब 75 साल की यात्रा अब नए मुकाम से आरंभ हो रही है।
Anticipation hangs in the air as democracy prepares to set into its new home. Bureau Report, India Today.
Let me show you now some of the key highlights of what the Prime Minister said during his address in this special session of Parliament. There are some clues and everyone at this moment searching for hints about what the Prime Minister intends to do during this special session.
नेहरू जी, शास्त्री जी, वहां से लेकर के अटल जी, मनमोहन सिंह जी तक एक बहुत बड़ी श्रृंखला जिसने इस सदन का नेतृत्व किया है और सदन के माध्यम से देश को दिशा दी है, देश को नए रंग रूप में ढालने के लिए उन्होंने परिश्रम किया है, पुरुषार्थ किया है। आज उन सबका गौरवगान करने का भी अवसर है। ये वो सदन है जहां पंडित जी को इसलिए भी याद किएगा, अनेक बातों के लिए याद करेगा, लेकिन हम जरूर याद करेंगे इसी सदन में पंडित नेहरू का एट द स्ट्रोक ऑफ मिडनाइट की गूंज हम सबको प्रेरित करती रहेगी। इसी सदन में अटल जी ने कहा था, वो शब्द आज भी गूंज रहे हैं इस सदन में, सरकारें आएगी जाएगी, पार्टियां बनेगी बिगड़ेगी, लेकिन ये देश रहना चाहिए। अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी का सरकार भी हमने इसी सदन में देखी। सर्व शिक्षा अभियान देश में आज वो महत्वपूर्ण बन गया है। आदिवासी कार्यालय मंत्रालय अटल जी ने बनाया, नॉर्थ ईस्ट का मंत्रालय अटल जी ने बनाया, न्यूक्लियर टेस्ट भारत के सामर्थ्य का परिचायक बन गया। मैं पहली बार जब संसद का सदस्य बना और पहली बार एक सांसद के रूप में इस भवन में मैंने प्रवेश किया, तो सहज रूप से मैंने इस संसद भवन के पक्ति पर अपना शीश झुका करके इस लोकतंत्र के मंदिर को श्रद्धा भाव से नमन करते हुए मैंने पैर रखा था। वो पल मेरे लिए भावनाओं से भरी हुई थी। भारत के लोकतंत्र की ताकत है, भारत के सामान्य मानवी की लोकतंत्र के प्रति श्रद्धा का प्रतिबिंब है कि रेलवे प्लेटफॉर्म पर गुजारा करने वाला एक गरीब परिवार का बच्चा पार्लियामेंट पहुंच गया। मैंने कभी कल्पना तक नहीं की थी कि देश मुझे इतना सम्मान देगा, इतना आशीर्वाद देगा, इतना प्यार देगा। सोचा नहीं था अध्यक्ष।
The biggest question, of course, what's cooking in the cabinet? Joining me for perspective, we've got Shehzad Poonawala, national spokesperson of the BJP. With us on the show is Dr. Shama Mohammed from the Congress. Ranjana Kumari is the director of the Center for Social Research. Well-known women's rights activist Sanjay Jha joins us. And we've got Rajat Sethi. But I want to go across to our boots on the ground. Paulomi Saha and Himanshu Mishra are with us. Let me put the tough question to Himanshu first. Himanshu, you have deep penetration in the BJP, RSS. बताओ हमारे दर्शकों को कैबिनेट की मीटिंग में क्या चर्चा चल रही है?
देखिए राहुल, जो भी कुछ है वो कैबिनेट में बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट होने वाला है और मुझे लगता है कई तरीके के कयास जो है वो लगाए जा रहे हैं, चाहे वो वुमेन रिजर्वेशन बिल को लेकर हो या ओबीसी की जो रिजर्वेशन की कैप है उसको बढ़ाने का हो, यानी कि आरक्षण का जो कैप है 49% उसको बढ़ाने का हो या कुछ नए अलग स्टेट बनाने का हो। लेकिन इतना जरूर है, अभी तक कुछ भी क्लियर नहीं है और बहुत कैबिनेट का जो एजेंडा है वो सर्कुलेट नहीं किया गया था और सभी मंत्रियों को जो है ऑन टेबल ही जो एजेंडा है वो सर्कुलेट किया गया है। तो ये माना जा सकता है कि सरकार बहुत सधे हुए तरीके से संसद के इस विशेष सत्र में अपने एजेंडे को लेकर आएगी और इसीलिए अमूमन जो है कैबिनेट, ज्यादातर कैबिनेट जो है वो बुधवार को होती है, लेकिन आज सोमवार के दिन बुलाई गई है जब संसद के विशेष सत्र का पहला दिन है और 6:30 बजे से ये कैबिनेट चल रही है। लगभग 1 घंटे से ज्यादा का समय जो है वो हो चुका है। तो अब ये माना जा सकता है कि कुछ ऐसे बिल लाए जाएंगे जो ना सिर्फ अपकमिंग विधानसभा इलेक्शंस जो है उनका और बल्कि 2024 के जो चुनाव है लोकसभा के उसका पूरा का पूरा जो सोशल इंजीनियरिंग है वो बदल देगा।
Okay, Paulomi, what do you know? Over and beyond what Himanshu said, and also give our viewers a sense of what to expect. I'm told there's this very dramatic ceremony where the Prime Minister, with the Constitution in his hand, will walk from the old Parliament to the new. All the MPs will come with him. So all that's being planned for tomorrow.
That's right. There is a very elaborate program that the government has planned tomorrow to transition, in fact, from the old Parliament building to the new Parliament building. All parliamentarians from both houses have been called into Parliament by about 9:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. There'll be a photo session that will happen against the backdrop of the Central Hall in the old Parliament building. So first the Lok Sabha MPs will take a picture, the Rajya Sabha MPs will take a picture, and then there'll be a joint picture of parliamentarians from both houses of Parliament. After that, I beg your pardon, there'll be an elaborate program that will take place inside, again, the old Parliament building, where, of course, there will be reminiscing of the past 75 years of India's parliamentary democracy and a resolution which will be adopted to, in fact, ensure that India is one of the most large developed economies by 2047. That will happen. The Prime Minister will speak. The Vice Chairperson of, the Vice President Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, Jagdeep Dhankar, will speak. The Speaker will speak, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, Mallikarjun Kharge, and also importantly Maneka Gandhi, as well as Shibu Soren and Dr. Manmohan Singh. Maneka Gandhi being the longest serving parliamentarian as far as the Lok Sabha is concerned, Dr. Manmohan Singh from the Rajya Sabha, and Shibu Soren, who's been the longest as far as both houses combined are concerned. And after the ceremony is over by about 12:30, we expect that the Prime Minister, along with his entourage of ministers led by the Parliamentary Affairs Minister, will proceed from the old building to the new building, just a short walk towards the Makar Dwar, and he will be holding, we're told, the constitution, the handbook in his hand as he makes his way over there. And then again, of course, as proceedings commence at about 1:15 p.m. in the Lok Sabha and 2:15 p.m. in the Rajya Sabha, there'll be speeches that will be made by, of course, the Prime Minister as leader of the Lok Sabha, Piyush Goyal as leader of the House in the Rajya Sabha, and Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary in the Lok Sabha, and Mallikarjun Kharge in the Rajya Sabha.
Okay.
Rahul.
Thanks, Paulami. Thanks, Himanshu. Our team is on the ground. We will break what happens in the cabinet first. I have some sense of what's happening. The reason I'm keeping my cards very close to my chest is because the government likes to spring surprises, and what we think is happening may ultimately not be what's happening at all. So I just want to keep all that on the side and put our guests on the spot. Shehzad Poonawalla, your national spokesperson of the BJP, do you have any idea of what the cabinet is discussing? Can you give our viewers the inside track, Shehzad?
Rahul, even if I were to, let's assume for a moment, beat your dream team of Paulami and Himanshu who are the best at covering the BJP, and I knew, you know that my party diktat would be to not reveal any information, and I don't have such kind of information. But Rahul, you're well versed with how governments operate. These days, information doesn't get leaked either to journalists or to spokespersons like me. The cabinet carries a certain bit of confidentiality. Whatever will be decided will be put in front of the nation. And in fact, this has been the trend. Everyone was saying that there is a secret agenda of Parliament. 5 days before the session commenced, the agenda was put out in detail. Why it is a special session is well known before us, because we are now moving to the new Parliament building on the occasion of Ganesh Chaturthi. And I think it is the best time that could have been chosen, because in Maharashtra we believe is Vigna. So who better than to actually take the blessings from when you are starting something as a new journey? And apart from that, the question today is, why are some people still continuing to be Vigna Santoshi even when we are moving to the new Parliament? Today, the Prime Minister spoke like a Rashtra Neta, like a statesman. Rahul, he gave us a complete kaleidoscope of events and achievements of Parliament, from Nehruji to the current government, from Rajendra Prasad ji to Draupadi Murmu ji. But what did we hear from Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge? And I'm sorry to say, Rahul, I must bring this up. I respect Mr. Kharge a lot, but the way he tried to undermine G20, which even you and the fiercest critics of this government will acknowledge is one of the most important achievements for the entire world, to call it G2, I think it showed that even on such occasions, Congress can't put politics below national interest. It keeps putting Parivar above everything else, whether it's showing Sonia Gandhi as Bharat Mata, or whether it is reducing a day like this.
I've just seen a tweet from the Congress which seems to be putting the cart before the horse. They're demanding the women's reservation bill be brought. Now, I want to tell our viewers that before this, we've seen from the Vice President, the President, the RSS Chief comments about the need for reservation for women in legislatures, leading many to believe that maybe this cabinet meeting that's on at this moment is really about increasing the reservation for women MPs. And that's why we're seeing now, Shama, the Congress come out and demand that there be the passage of the women's reservation bill in the Lok Sabha. You're basically trying to put the government under pressure on what you think is actually their agenda, so you can claim credit for it later. Is that what's up?
Rahul, you said that we want to claim credit for it. See, who got in reservations in Panchayati Raj? Now it's almost 50%. I mean, I always participate whenever there's a corporation election in my state, and I also campaign, so I know exactly there are, if this year it's a woman, the next year that seat goes to a man, another seat where it's a man, it goes to a woman. So it's 50% there, and that's gotten by Rajiv Gandhi. And in 2010, under Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and the leadership of Sonia Gandhi ji, we passed it in the Rajya Sabha. Mrs. Gandhi wanted to pass it in Lok Sabha. We did not have the numbers. Now, the Bharatiya Janata Party, in 2014, in their manifesto, they said that we will pass the women's reservation bill. In 2019 manifesto, they said they will pass the women's reservation bill. So we have said in our CWC resolution yesterday, we want it passed. We really want it passed. We are the ones who started this women's reservation bill. And at that point of time, they were against it. And we really want this passed. And the ball is in their court. They have the numbers in the Lok Sabha. The Rajya Sabha bill is still not lapsed. They have the numbers, and they just could easily pass. The Prime Minister of India keep saying beti bachao, beti padhao. To kar do na betiyon ke liye kuch bhi, arakshan de do is what we are saying. The other thing he said this, the Prime Minister spoke as a statesman, and he was talking against Mr. Kharge. This statesman has not visited Manipur. Yesterday, an army soldier was abducted from his house and murdered. Do you understand that, Shehzad Poonawalla? Last week, there were 3 of Kuki people were murdered. Before that, 2 Meiteis, a father was picked up from his home, kidnapped and murdered.
Okay.
What is going on in Manipur?
Okay.
And you
so
tell that the Prime
Rajat
Minister of India
Sethi,
speaks like a statesman? We want to know.
Okay.
And
give me a moment. I'm coming back to Shama in a moment. Rajat Sethi, is this a good thing? You know, there is this massive curiosity, suspense over what will happen. From what I'm told by our sources, most of the cabinet ministers didn't really know what the agenda was. They came into parliament and the agenda was placed before them. Now, if that is correct, you know, building this kind of hype, if it's legislation, let's assume at the end of it, if it's the women's reservation bill, that's been in the pipeline for so many decades. Why build so much suspense around it? What's cooking? Is this a good thing? Okay, the cabinet meeting has ended. Just one second, Rajat, before you respond. Cabinet meeting has ended. It went on for an hour and a half. I don't know just at this moment what's been decided, and I don't want to speculate, but we'll come back to that. Till then, Rajat, it's great television. All this suspense, the mystery, the rahasya is great for us, but is this really good governance?
Well, over the past 9 years, we've come to realize that there is a sense of suspense which is maintained around important policy measures. And, look at the criteria. Some of them have succeeded, some of them haven't succeeded. For example,
no, but which decision taken in suspense succeeded according to you?
Well, I mean, suspense for the larger audience, but I think there is enough amount of groundwork which goes into each one of them. The results are mixed, but overall, if you see, hard work has been put into each one of them. My understanding is that since this is the Sri Ganesh of a new parliament, we believe that at least something of a big bang has to be there, which can mark a new journey, which is distinctly different from how the parliament was run. Prime Minister Modi would want to leave a solid policy or a governance imprint on the first bill that gets introduced or gets passed from the new parliament. So from that perspective, at least I can, like all of you are guessing there, I can also make my guess that it would be something. It could also be, a change in the constitution, officially accepting Bharat as the only name, a civilizational name of the country. That too could be.
Okay, I've got more news coming in that there'll be no cabinet briefing today. Usually after a cabinet, sometimes there is a cabinet briefing. This time though, there'll be no cabinet briefing. The suspense makes for fascinating television, Sanjay Jha. Does it make for good governance? Rajat Sethi makes the point there will be some big bang announcement, and it is inevitable and required because there is the Sri Ganesh of a new parliament. Therefore, something dramatic has to happen over there, only then will it become memorable. Sanjay Jha.
Time Mr. Modi and Big Bang come together, I think the country has every reason to feel extremely nervous. We have 2 examples, disastrous examples, by the way, of demonetization. The lingering effects of that devastating pseudo economics is something that India has paid through its nose, and the poor in particular have bled through it. So we know that demonetization disaster was one of these big surprises when Mr. Modi pulled on the country. The second was the lockdown, and nobody will ever forget the tragic sight of migrants walking home while the politicians in New Delhi, of course, lived in the comfort of their Lutyens' air-conditioned comfort. The bottom line is this, that I feel, Rahul, that this is an insult of this great democracy. You know, you had Narendra Modi as the Prime Minister of India come and say that whatever has been put out in the public domain in terms of the legislative agenda is not the entire story, right? So the Prime Minister of this country, who represents 303 members in Parliament, 37% of the popular vote, fair enough, that he is keeping a large part of India in the dark in what he believes are historic decisions. I think this mocks democracy and establishes what L.K. Advani famously said about Narendra Modi. He's an event manager, and perhaps he's an exceptional event management
Let Shehzad
person.
Poonawala
That's
respond.
about
If these are historic decisions, why keep India in the dark? Why so much suspense? Shehzad.
Rahul, with all due respect, the 2 examples Sanjay just cited, demonetization and lockdown, were both executive decisions. They weren't actually legislative decisions. There was no question of bringing them to Parliament. And demonetization was subsequently upheld by the Supreme Court. So I guess because the verdict was not favorable, now you diss the Supreme Court. But having said that, let me come to the point. Look, Rahul, anything that follows constitutional and parliamentary procedure as it was envisaged, how is it a defrauding of the democracy? Defrauding of democracy, Rahul. And I'm sorry, today there are no historians historians on your debate, usually you have top-class historians, would tell you that on 24th of June, Indira Gandhi consults the president, imposes emergency and calls for a cabinet meeting at 6 a.m. on 25th of June, and post facto takes a ratification of the cabinet. That's an insult and a mockery of democracy. Now, having said that, let me come to the original point Shama just made. Shama said, by the way, in Rajya Sabha, Shamaji, and I hope you won't interrupt me, we as the BJP supported the bill entirely. That's why it was passed in Rajya Sabha in 2010. By the way, Atal Bihari Vajpayee brought it in 98, 99 and 2003. You all didn't support. But when it was supposed to go to Lok Sabha, you did not have the courage. You had the numbers. You had a government till 2014. The fact is that you did not bring it to Lok Sabha because SP, RJD and JDU, all of them opposed the current form of the bill which has been passed by Rajya Sabha. In fact, today itself, Ram Gopal Yadav and the Samajwadi Party spokespersons whom I have been on multiple debates, and I'm sorry there's none on the show right now, Rahul, but you can confirm it from your people. They have all said we do not agree with the current bill which Pawan Kheda, Jairam Ramesh and Shama Mohammed have asked us to bring to Parliament. So Shama, first tell me what is the India Alliance's stand on this current bill? Is Samajwadi Party on board with the current draft of the Rajya Sabha bill that has been passed? Point number two is that, ma'am, what is your intention? You had said 40% reservation for women in places where we come to power. You have 46 ministers in Himachal and Karnataka, and you know how many women have been made ministers? One. Shama Mohammed, I think talk is cheap. Walk the talk. Why don't you make 30%?
Okay, let Shama Mohammed respond to the fact that parties like the RJD, parties like the Samajwadi Party aren't on board with the women's reservation bill as it existed previously. Now, the government could bring in a new bill. I'm already hearing different theories about new formulations, but in the bill that came last, key members of your India Alliance don't support it.
Yeah, so this is what Shehzad Poonawala is saying, but I have not heard from the Samajwadi Party, and I don't believe.
But they opposed it last time as well. We know that. RJD opposed it very strongly last time.
Wait. I know, that's what we didn't have the numbers. That's what I'm clearly saying. Now, he keeps saying that we could pass it, we could not, because we didn't have the numbers in Lok Sabha. I can ask you a question right now. You have the numbers in Lok Sabha, isn't it, Shehzad? So pass it. The Prime Minister of India talks about Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao every other day. Number two, we had a PCC president who is no more in our party in UP, Rita Bahuna Goshi. We had Kumari Selja as PCC president in Haryana. Haryana, as you know, is a state where women feticide is very high. So we are the first woman prime minister, we are the first woman president, we are the one who got in the Pratibha Patil, the first woman president, first woman speaker, Meera Kumar, the Congress party got in. So what are you talking about, Shehzad Poonawala? We have given women importance, we have fought for women all the time. Now I want to ask you, why cannot you put this bill out, and what is the reason for this special session? I mean, all the time in India, the history of India, special session is for a reason. Starting from 1947, when we got independence, or 1972, when it was 25 years of independence, 1992, 50 years of Quit India movement. So there were special occasions when we have called the special session of Parliament.
Okay.
Here the problem is you're going to a new Parliament when the 16th Lok Sabha only 330 days and 17th Lok Sabha is 231 days. Just one last point. Any bills through the standing committee from 2019 to 21, only 13% bills have gone to standing committee. Whereas from 2009 to 2014, 72%.
Okay,
so
just to stay with me for a moment, and I want our viewers to listen very carefully, because one of the theories that's doing the rounds is because parties like the RJD, the Samajwadi Party are not on board with 33% reservation, which will mean that 33% of the 543 seats in the Lok Sabha will get reserved for women alone. Therefore, what is being discussed is that you could have the dual member system. Now, this is an idea that the Bharatiya Stri Shakti, the BSS, came up with. What this essentially means is that you have a certain number of seats where you have one male MP and you have a female MP, and this goes back to 1950-51 when elections happened in 51-52. There were 314 parliamentary constituencies which had only one Lok Sabha seat. There were 86 constituencies which had 2 seats. What that means is you have one general category candidate, one general category seat. In that same area, you have one SC/ST candidate. So therefore, on that same seat, which 86 out of the total, you have one SC/ST candidate and you have one general category candidate. These are called dual member seats. This is an idea that the BSS came up in 2009, saying that if you can't find a resolution, can this then be the solution? So you don't change the boundaries of the Lok Sabha seats. The seats are still 543. You add 33% extra seats where you pick by certain criteria. For example, it could be by population, it could be by geography. Certain number of seats in each state then get classified as dual member seats. Ranjana Kumari joins us, well-known women's rights activist. Does this serve the purpose, Ranjana ji? This idea of the Bharatiya Stri Shakti of 2009, that you have these dual member seats. We had it from 51. It continued till about 1961 when it was abolished by legislation. Then you had separate SC/ST seats. Till then you had these dual member seats. Does this work for you?
Well, Rahul, first of all, this bill, which is at the moment, which was passed by Rajya Sabha in 2010, is a bill which was well considered in the leadership of Geeta Mukherjee. The parliamentary committee went around the country. Everybody's opinion was sought. And finally, of course, the bill was drafted and it reserves seats only for 15 years. So it's really not that indefinite period women want that space. It becomes very, very important now for the special session to pass it for two reasons. One, that we have in our declaration in G20 have told the world that India believes in women-led development. Even when China had reservation about this language, because it is not a UN language, there is nothing called women-led development. But we have tried to convince the world that India believes in
so can I pause you for a second and say that ideally women's rights activists such as yourself would want 33% of the 543 to be reserved. That met with opposition last time.
There are two ways of
so
doing it,
if there is a new formulation that you don't disturb the 543, you create dual member seats where there are two members on 33% of the seats. Does that serve the purpose for you?
Well, Rahul, that experiment failed.
Why?
Because, you know, when it comes, it failed because when it came to Dalit seats separately and voting like that, people did not really choose to vote for both. They chose only to vote for the upper caste candidates. And then it did not really serve the purpose of representing those castes. And that is why it had to be changed. If you go
no,
into
but
the
that was
history
1950, 1960 ka India. This is 2023. Maybe things have changed since.
Let me tell you, there are two other very good way of doing it. Now that we have a 780 seat parliament, new parliament building, there was problem of seating, this, that and the other. Now we have an opportunity to have women. Additional seats should be given to women. That's what I will say.
No, but that's the same thing. So you get 179 seats added, 179 to the 543. And remember, in Parliament, about 800 MPs can sit. So 179 plus 543 is 722. So you just expand the Parliament and it's the kind of formulation that nobody can seem to oppose.
Yes, because the fear was why it could not go through. One was, of course, the reason for the OBC quota and the Muslim women. We have agreed. We are saying give it to Dalit women, give it to OBC women, give it to Muslim women, give it to all women, but it should be reserved for women only. So that's the first agreement that was arrived at. That is why it was passed in Rajya Sabha. Number two, that when you have so many seats now, then where is the difficulty? Nobody is going to lose the seat. Most of them,
so you're in agreement with this. Sanjay Jha, could this be the game-changing formulation which creates consensus, makes it difficult for parties like the RJD, the Samajwadi Party to say no? Because you don't redraw parliamentary boundaries. You just have two MP candidates on 179 seats. One is general, so it could be anybody, and the others are just reserved for women.
Well, Rahul, I'm not going to speculate on that, but I can tell you what this government ought to do. One is that you got an expanded parliament, and I believe the principal reason behind that is the proposed delimitation that is supposed to happen in 2026. I think the larger issue has to be in terms of the representation of different states in the Lok Sabha. That has to be done. This cannot be postponed, indefinitely for a long time. And I believe that is one of the most critical aspects.
No one's answering my question.
India is seeing no transparency.
You're making a point which has nothing to do with my question.
I think political party delimitation has nothing to do with women reservation.
No. I'm making a different point altogether.
No, so Sanjay Jha, why don't you answer my question? Because this logjam around women's reservation has existed for a very long time. If there is dual member system, does that then potentially, in your view, break the logjam by making it very difficult for parties to say no?
Well, I can tell you, Rahul, frankly, if you want a sustainable model and one wants to see genuine, authentic women empowerment, then I will agree with Kumariji here that the way forward is to have 33% reservation across the board for women in both assemblies and the Lok Sabha, without indulging in this, what I would call is a subterfuge of sorts in creating the dual member
one is
system.
to look at it as subterfuge. The other is that, you have reservation for women, which isn't going to happen. We'll see a pushback from the men. If you do it with this dual member system, you could potentially find a way out. Ranja Kumari, it's not 33% per se, it's 33% extra. Do you think it gets the job done? Because there'll definitely be 179 more women in parliament than there would be otherwise.
Rahul, in that case, it will be 50-50 because one woman, one man. But the difficulty is that...
Not for all. I'm saying the formulation is 33% of the 543, which is 179.
Why do you want men to contest those seats? You see, that's when women will become the secondary. They become secondary, players in the game because their constituency, they will represent the same constituency. Who's going to go to them? They will all be going to male member of parliament. So women will remain a kind of subordinated substitute member. So clearly reserve the seat. I think the formulation from various points of view has been worked out. That, you see, the whole strength of the whole thing is that it has been passed by Rajya Sabha already. So that means the
So you're saying you want full reservation. You don't want this dual reservation because your point is legitimate to some extent that if there are two MPs, they'll just go to the main MP. They'll think this is some side MP and they won't come to them. Shehzad Poonawala, and I must say this very clearly so that nobody thinks that this is gospel. This is one of the theories that is being considered. It doesn't mean that this is the formula which was on the cabinet when they met this evening. So we don't know that, but this is being actively discussed and therefore we're having this discussion. Shehzad Poonawala, could this break the logjam?
Rahul, look, it's quite impossible for me to give you my opinion on a purely speculative matter. And as a national spokesperson, I don't want to indulge in something that is not even there. As I always say in Hindi, मैं उस बच्चे का मुंडन नहीं करवा सकता जो अभी तक पैदा नहीं हुआ. But Rahul, let me tell you what is the factual situation as of now. I have pulled out a India Today report. When the bill was passed in Parliament in Rajya Sabha, the Samajwadi Party, RJD and BSP opposed it. Now I ask Shama Mohammed, because Jairam Ramesh and Pawan Kheda both have asked for the very same bill that even Ranjana ji was referring to. On this Rajya Sabha passed bill, is the India Alliance going to issue a statement and say...
So that's a different matter. You made that point, Shehzad. You made that point. I want to stick to... No, one second. I just... Ranjana ji, just 1 second, please.
Can I just answer that, Rahul?
No, Ranjana ji, just 1 second. Can I go to Shehzad? Can I go to Shama Mohammed and ask her the question that I am asking? Just 1 second, calm down everyone. Shama Mohammed, if this dual member system is brought, 33% reservation for women, so 33% seats have two MPs, one general and one woman, does that serve the purpose? Shama Mohammed.
See, Rahul, before I come to that, Shehzad has been saying that what is your stand? Why should my stand even? Why should you consider RJD or what the Samajwadi want? You have the numbers. You have to pass the bill. Why are you so worried about what the opposition thinks or what it is? You have the numbers. Pass it. Show it. I defy you today. I'm a woman. I'm asking the Prime Minister of India, please pass the bill. And you can do it. He's always talking about women. He says, Stree Suraksha. I remember the speech he gave last year from the ramparts of the Red Fort. We need to protect our women. If you empower women, you empower the whole society. So do it. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And Rahul, to your question, for me, the 33% reservation has to come. Whichever way it comes, I am happy. You know, we need reservation. We can see what happens. And also one more thing. I do not want to see husbands putting their wives. That should be a clause specially. You know, it should be women who are capable, who is doing work, and those sort of women should be there.
Ranjana Kumari wants to come in. Ranjana ji?
Yes.
Rahul,
Yes, Shama, I think let's
word?
not qualify it why who should come, who should not come. I think let the political parties decide. Political parties decide on the basis of winnability. They decide on the basis of support that the women can garner and all that. Let them decide. Let that be. Let the women come first. Why do we start doing if but what will happen?
Okay.
This will happen.
So
No.
Rajat Sethi, let me draw you in just philosophically on the dual member system and the potential pitfalls and advantages. Does this potentially help break the gridlock, make it very difficult for parties to say no, because no seat is being taken away? Instead, with the new parliament, with additional seating capacity, 179 new seats are being added.
Well, in the realm of possibility, this is one of the possible approaches, but certainly there can be other innovative ways of offering reservation. There are ample examples, historically speaking, where logjams have been broken. If there are concerns that, adequate number of women representatives is hard to find, there can be, some kind of a time horizon which is given that, if not this Lok Sabha, it will start off at some other point, or it could be limited by the number of years that the women MPs have to be elected. There can be a lot of ways. First of all, I think that bill has to be tabled. A general mood of the elected members of parliament has to be understood. And if there are deliberations that need to be there. But this is the time when certainly this bill has to see the light of the day. It has been pending and languishing for far too long. There can be no two doubts.
No, but you can't bring a bill which doesn't get passed. If it's such a big parliamentary session, the government has to bring a bill which also goes through. You don't want to bring a bill which then again runs into roadblock. And in the manner in which the Prime Minister was very statesman-like in the morning, he'd like that there be consensus when the bill is passed, rather than having a lot of parties opposing.
Never be. No, Rahul, there'll never be consensus. Let's not. Was there consensus or triple talaq?
The BJP and the
Triple
Congress
talaq, there was no consensus. Look, if you want to give it, then, global leadership. Today I'm speaking to you from United Nations General Assembly program that I am here for. The whole world is looking up to India to find a solution. Because do you know what has happened in the women leadership in parliaments in decision-making positions? Only 22% we have moved in past 8 years, and only 7 more years are left to complete the social development, the whole agenda. Now, how do we achieve social development goals? Only if India leads the way and gives political will have to be there. And I think the Prime Minister, that will is, when he gives triple talaq, gave away with triple talaq, I don't think there was any consensus.
No, but the difference is that
Nobody
there will be, regardless of what they say on record, there will be people in every party who will have a problem with this, Ranjana ji.
Yes, I totally agree with you. You are absolutely on spot right that there'll be a problem, and that is why which bill in the parliament is pending, such an important bill for 30 years? This one is. Which bill was torn inside the parliament? This bill was. For which bill they fought with each other?
Okay, so I'm out of time. Very quick final words. I'll start with Shama Mohammed. Shama.
Rahul?
Do you like dual member system or not? Do you like the idea of dual member system or not? Shama Mohammed.
No, I'm not going to comment on that. What I'm going to comment is that this is a Prime Minister, when he wants to do something, he does it. He got in GST at midnight, he did demonetization, and he got rid of Article 370. So when he wants to do something, he does it. Today, the Prime Minister of India, I ask you to go ahead with the Women's Reservation Bill. Don't back out. Women of India are looking up to you. You must
Shehzad
do this
Poonawalla,
for
final
us.
words.
That's all I have to say.
In all those instances that Shama just spoke of, they accused the Prime Minister and the government of bulldozing. How the tables turned, Rahul, on your show. Today, Madam Shama has acknowledged that that was not bulldozing. But by the way, Madam Shama, we believe in consensus. Even you don't believe in consensus with your own allies. We believe in consensus. Let the entire parliament take a consensus.
I didn't say it's not bulldozing. I said when he wants to do something, he does it.
Let there be full consensus. Today, you are... Shama, I did not interrupt you. That is the least I have.
Okay, one second. Shama Mohammed, you made that point. Let Shehzad respond.
Rahul, I did not interrupt anybody. Yeah. Rahul, my limited point is only this. Today, as of now, as we speak, the cabinet is over. Tomorrow, perhaps there will be a briefing. We don't know what is in the cabinet meeting that has come out. We know the agenda that is there for tomorrow, and that's what we will react on. But having said that, I want to only ask Shama Mohammed, by tomorrow, will you have a full consensus in your India alliance on the bill that you are advocating?
So you made that point the third time. Yes, that point is well registered. I'm out of time. Shama Mohammed and Ranjana Kumari both saying you don't need a consensus. There was no consensus for triple talaq. There was no consensus for demonetization. If you believe it's important, if you believe women-led development is important, go for it. Now, do you go for it by splitting 543 by 1/3, reserving 179 seats for women, or do you create an additional 179 seats? So you top up parliament by 1/3. So we don't know that. We don't even know if that was on the agenda, but what we do know is at this time there's a meeting taking place at the house of BJP President JP Nadda. Senior ministers like Anurag Thakur and Dharmendra Pradhan are there, and there's a separate post-cabinet huddle on inside the parliament complex where the likes of Piyush Goyal and Prahlad Joshi have been spotted. So our reporters are on the ground. We're tracking the story very closely. It's day 6 of the Anantnag encounter. Security forces are carrying out a DNA test of a terrorist whose charred body was recovered from the valley on Sunday. Meanwhile, Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha met the family of martyr DSP Humayun Bhatt and expressed his condolences.
The Anantnag encounter entered the 6th day on Monday. Two to three terrorists are still believed to be holed up in the forest of Kokernag. After the charred body of a terrorist was retrieved from a hideout on Sunday, security forces are trying to confirm his identity. The security forces believe the body could be of terrorist Uzair Ahmed Khan, an alleged member of the Lashkar-e-Taiba. DNA test is being conducted to ascertain the terrorist identity. Meanwhile, Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha met the family of DSP Humayun Bhatt, who was killed in action during the Anantnag encounter. Expressing his condolences, he assured the family of all assistance and support from the administration. Earlier, the Lieutenant Governor had asserted that the deaths of the Indian braves will be avenged soon.
जवानों के लहू के एक कतरे का हिसाब पूरी तरह सूद समेत लिया जाएगा। आतंकी किसी संगठन के उनके सरपरस्तों को बड़ी कीमत चुकानी है। हर एक बहादुर जवान के पीछे पूरा देश खड़ा है।
Security forces are in a final push to flush out all the terrorists involved in the attack that killed 3 soldiers and a police officer. With Kamaljit Sandhu and Ashraf Wani in Srinagar, Bureau Report, India Today.
This is where we wrap up the Newstrack tonight. For your time and your trust, thank you very much. Do tune in early tomorrow morning to our live and continuing coverage as India moves from the old parliament to the new. We'll bring you all the political developments from the ground starting 7 a.m. tomorrow. Goodbye, good night.